It was the phone call that made the world stand still. Democrats say Trump should be impeached for it, but Trump points the finger at the Bidens. Hi, welcome to America Uncovered. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. This episode has been sponsored by Surfshark, because if you're going to be making shady deals with Ukraine, I recommend using a VPN to hide your identity. Just saying. Thanksgiving is just a few weeks away, and you know what that means. Turkey dinner with the family. Everyone's having a great time. But there's two things my family's not allowed to discuss at the table: religion and the Trump-Biden-Ukraine scandal. Uncle Nick, I'm talking to you. But it's not Thanksgiving yet. So let's talk about what happened with Trump, Biden, and Ukraine. It's the love triangle that nobody asked for. Edward, Bella, and Jacob have nothing on this, because the consequences of this situation could result in something much worse than a pack of creepy Italian vampires coming to take your baby away. And no, I will not apologize for my Twilight references. Twilight is a cultural treasure. Vampires and werewolves aside, here's what's going down in the real world. Let's start with Ukraine, a beautiful Eastern European country nestled away in Russia's armpit. This is Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. He was elected in May this year. Before being elected, Zelensky was a comedian and the star of a Ukrainian TV show where he played a high school teacher. In the show, his character gets filmed ranting against government corruption. That video goes viral, and then he somehow gets elected president. And then in real life, Zelensky actually ran for president, campaigning on a platform of ranting against government corruption, and he got elected. Which is crazy. Imagine a TV personality with no political experience becoming president. Only in Ukraine, I guess. Anyway, back to America. Here's what's going on with Trump, Biden, and Ukraine. President Donald Trump is accused of abusing his power and betraying his oath of office by pressuring Ukraine's leader to smear a political rival. At the same time, former Vice President Joe Biden is accused of abusing his power and betraying his oath of office by pressuring Ukraine's leaders to protect his family's interests. Whew. It's slightly different. For a second there, I thought Trump and Biden almost had something in common. Anyway, Trump's actions are now at the center of a whistleblower complaint from a U.S. intelligence officer. That complaint prompted the release of an official transcript of a phone call Trump had with Ukraine President Zelensky. And that complaint also prompted Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives to launch an impeachment inquiry into Trump. Like most things we cover on America Uncovered, impeachment is complicated. But we have a separate video on how it works if you want to learn more. The events and questions surrounding the Trump, Biden, and Ukraine matter are no exception to the complicated rule. So here's what's basically going on. You have Joe Biden, former vice president and current Democratic presidential candidate. Hunter Biden is Joe Biden's son, a Yale Law School graduate and a former lobbyist. In 2014, President Obama put Vice President Biden in charge of U.S. relations with Ukraine. Soon after that, Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, joined the board of a Ukrainian natural gas company called Burisma Holdings Limited. Vice President Biden and the Obama administration were heavily criticized for letting this happen because it appeared to be a conflict of interest. But a conflict of interest is not necessarily illegal. Don't worry, it gets more conflicty. See, in 2012, before Hunter Biden joined the board of Burisma had already been under investigation by the Prosecutor General of Ukraine. Then, in 2015, Ukraine got a new Prosecutor General, Viktor Shokin. Shokin continued to investigate Burisma. As Shokin was investigating, he had reportedly been planning to question Hunter Biden about money he got from Burisma through his own firm called Rosemont Seneca. Rosemont Seneca sounds like an especially fragrant Yankee candle, but it's actually an international investment firm, founded by several people including Hunter Biden and his friend Devon Archer. Devon Archer also happened to be on Burisma's board with Hunter. Records show that their private firm, Burisma, received regular money transfers from Burisma, usually more than $166,000 a month, during a period when Vice President Biden was the main U.S. official dealing with Ukraine. And in addition to that money, Burisma also directly paid Hunter Biden $83,000 a month just for being a board member. That sounds like a lot of money. I bet he doesn't have any more student loans to pay off. But was anything illegal going on? Well, it's unclear, and anyway, that's not the point. The point is, Prosecutor General Viktor Shokin was investigating Burisma, and when Joe Biden traveled to Ukraine, he tried to get Shokin fired, allegedly, according to Joe Biden. There's video of Joe Biden bragging about it last year. He says he tried to get Shokin fired in exchange for approving America's billion-dollar loan guarantee to Ukraine.
And I was supposed to announce that there was another billion-dollar loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't.
That state prosecutor, that's Viktor Shokin.
I said, no, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
And that's why, kids, you should never participate in a panel discussion streamed live on YouTube. Actually, Biden told the story as an example of how he thinks the U.S. should press harder against corruption in Ukraine. At the time, Biden had said Shokin was corrupt, and one of his main goals of getting Shokin fired was to encourage a more aggressive fight against Ukraine's rampant corruption. I get it. No one wants a corrupt government, especially not the Ukrainians, who had just had a rebellion against corrupt government, the Orange Revolution. And the United States and other Western nations had for months called for the ousting of Mr. Shokin, who was widely criticized for turning a blind eye to corrupt practices. Viktor Shokin was ultimately fired in 2016. Well, technically he wasn't fired, he was voted out of office by Parliament. Shokin says he was still investigating Burisma when he was fired. Whether that's true is currently unclear. So, was Shokin corrupt? Or was Joe Biden just trying to stop him from investigating Burisma? Or possibly both? At any rate, because of the timing, and because Joe Biden called for Shokin to be fired, Shokin says that the real reason he lost his job is because Joe Biden's son was the subject of his investigation. But that's also what a corrupt person would say. Maybe. And now it's time to talk about Donald Trump. He's getting a little jealous that we're not giving him enough attention. So, where does the Donald come into play? Well, apart from being commander-in-chief, the President of the United States is also diplomat-in-chief. So as president, Trump plays an important role between the U.S. and Ukraine's bilateral relations. The current public focus is on a phone call that Trump had this summer with Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine's TV star president who I mentioned earlier. According to a reconstructed transcript of the phone call, Trump asked Zelensky for a couple of favors. One of those was to look into the situation involving the Bidens and the Prosecutor General Viktor Shokin. It says Trump told President Zelensky, there's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that. A lot of people also wanted to find out whether or not Bella would choose her werewolf best friend over her vampire lover, and the results were very divisive. For the record, I was Team Jacob. You had the world in your hands, Bella. Why would you choose the dead guy? Anyway, back to the Biden-Trump-Ukraine thing, the love triangle nobody asked for. According to the phone call transcript, President Trump told President Zelensky that he would tell his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr to call Zelensky and coordinate over the Biden matter. At that point, Giuliani already had a Skype call with former prosecutor Viktor Shokin. he planned to go to Ukraine to encourage Zelensky to pursue inquiries that allies of the White House would find to be matters of interest to Trump. But then Giuliani canceled his trip. Sure, it's not entirely conventional for the President of the United States to have his personal attorney go sniffing in foreign waters for something fishy, and involve the Federal Attorney General at the same time. But it's not illegal. What was most questionable about the phone call is the money surrounding it. Before Trump's phone call with President Zelensky, the Trump administration withheld nearly $400 million in military and security aid to Ukraine. And despite Trump saying Ukraine had no idea about the frozen funds prior to the phone call, well, they knew. And Trump proudly confirmed that he withheld some money from Ukraine. But he says it's because he wants other European countries to contribute more to Ukraine. The scandal is that it appears Trump indicated he would release the funds if Ukraine would help him get dirt on Joe Biden, who is his political opponent in the current presidential race. This is called quid pro quo, a term I'm willing to bet has been Googled millions of times in recent weeks. It means a favor granted in exchange for something else. Quid pro quo would also describe this.
If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money.
Trump has denied accusations of quid pro quo, but as I mentioned earlier, Democrats in the House of Representatives are using Trump's phone call with President Zelensky and the allegations of quid pro quo as the grounds for possible impeachment. So, did Trump do anything illegal by talking with Zelensky about investigating the Bidens? How about by withholding funds? The answer just might surprise you. Under the 1999 Treaty of Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters, the U.S. Department of Justice and Ukraine's General Prosecutor Office is authorized to communicate information involving criminal investigations. But communications should take place in the framework of the treaty. Any lawyer will tell you that should is a bit different from must. Trump did not use the traditionally suggested channels of communication as outlined in the treaty. Instead, he relied on his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, to do his bidding. And the unresolved question is whether Trump was doing this as part of an investigation, or whether it was to gain a political advantage over Biden in the upcoming election. What about the Bidens? If you're a Republican, you believe that they must have done something wrong through their actions in Ukraine. Well, so far there is no evidence that suggests Joe or Hunter committed any crime. And Joe Biden has said that his son's business dealings had no impact on his own policies or practices in Ukraine. Because remember, Joe Biden says he wanted to get rid of Shokin because of corruption. But still, it may have been a bad idea for the vice president's son to pursue business with an international company that would play a role in American foreign policy decisions. And it may have been a bad idea for Trump to speak so candidly with President Zelensky over the phone about something that probably should have gone through a more formal channel. But bad ideas are not necessarily illegal. Just ask my roommate Carl and his lawyer. In the end, Republicans feel Joe Biden's choices were bad enough to merit destroying his political career. And Democrats feel that Trump's choices were bad enough to merit impeachment. It's considered unethical, though not illegal, to use the office of the president to dig up dirt on someone running against you. And the president can be impeached without technically committing a crime. And the drama we are now faced with has added to the erosion of public trust in government. And this Biden-Trump-Ukraine triangle will probably continue to drag on as we approach the 2020 election. At the very least, it deserves a better ending than the Twilight Saga. But that's just my opinion. Unless Biden falls in love with Trump's daughter. Or is it Ukraine's daughter? Wait, who's Bella in this analogy? Shelley, who's Bella? What do you mean you don't know? So what do you think about the Trump-Biden-Ukraine ordeal? And are you Team Edward or Team Jacob? Leave your comments below. And this episode has been sponsored by Surfshark. You should use a VPN like Surfshark when you go online. It'll protect your identity from hackers and the government, just in case you're Googling how to get a cushy job at a Ukrainian holding company. And if you're in a country like China or Russia that doesn't allow you to access the entire internet, you can use Surfshark's No Borders mode to get around it. And Surfshark also makes sure that all your favorite apps and websites will still work no matter where you are when you add them to their whitelister feature. Plus, you can connect as many devices as you want. Try it out with a 30-day money-back guarantee. And Surfshark has an amazing discount for America Uncovered fans. Go to surfshark.com/uncovered and use the code UNCOVERED to get 83% off a 3-year plan and 3 additional months free. Protect yourself online. Click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.